Thanks for joining us on the Activate and Illuminate podcast with Mel. I'm your host, Mel, and together we are going to be hearing some stories of ordinary people doing a little bit of extraordinary things. Now, whether they've pushed their bodies to extremes, whether they've had personal challenges that they've overcome, you're going to want to hear their stories. So I will say, stay tuned to the end. That's where we ask some of the juiciest questions. And I would also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. I would also invite you to join up for our newsletter on activateandilluminate.com. Thanks for listening, guys. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. So today you are going to have the pleasure of listening to Kat Halushka. Now, Kat is originally from Russia, came to Canada at 19, has created a fantastic business supporting entrepreneurs and some really great systems that can help people in their business, regardless of whatever kind of business it is, even in personal development. So you're gonna be able to hear her talk about some common mistakes that people make, some things that business owners can do to create more impact. We talk about AI. Believe it or not, I even make her cry, which I didn't mean to do, but we get into the heart of it, and it was a fantastic conversation with a ton of laughs. So join us, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, I have a special treat for you. This lady has inspired me. She's doing some great things, and she probably has some tidbits of information that you likely will find really exciting as well. Kat, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you're doing right now, and maybe we'll start off with what excites you. And we'll start with that.
Perfect. I'm Kat, and I'm a founder of Profitable Impact Academy, where we help business owners grow their business through the power of public speaking. Beyond that, I am pickleball enthusiast as well as an immigrant. I immigrated to Canada, feels like about 20 years ago now, so quite some time. And I'm pretty passionate about talking about that and how immigration has been one of the worst and one of the best things that happened to me. Now, when it comes to what excites me right now and what I'm working on is I'm actually trying to really up-level my pickleball skills right now. Like, I'm not going to lie. I've been really practicing. I have a tournament coming up. I just got to get one more medal on my wall.
That's a secret dream of mine, to be honest with you, is to I haven't never played it, and I would love to. I used to play a little bit of racquetball, but there's this image or this conception with pickleball that there's a lot of elderly people doing it, or at least in my little town. And I'm like, I have this secret fear of showing up to play pickleball and having them just run circles around me.
Melanie, they run circles around me. There are some 60, 70, 80-year-olds that totally kick my butt.
One of the best the businesses that excited me a lot was a lady that actually designed designer pickleball rackets in Florida, and I met her happenstance through a connection, and she had this lineup of amazing pickle. Anyways, that's a conversation for another.
You're gonna have to hook me up.
Yeah, it was quite bougie pickleball rackets, and I was like, what? People do this?
You'd be surprised how much money is spent on pickleball paddles every year.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to learn more about that. So tell me more about your immigration story.
So when I was actually quite young, I believe I was like early teens, my parents came to me and my brother, and they just kind of threw an idea in there. They were just wondering if we would be interested or open in moving to a different country. And I mean, you know how it is. We're young. It sounds fun because we don't know what it looks like. And so they hired a company to help us with some of the paperwork and processing and how it works and choosing where to go. Finally, they identified they want to come to Edmonton, and the paperwork started. What we didn't know that it's going to take years, and I mean years. We didn't hear back until I was 19. And so at 19, my mom came to us and she said, well, the paperwork went through. We're going to be selling our place. And the month that you're graduated, we're going to book a ticket and we're moving.
So where were you living?
It was in Belarus, Minsk. So that's the
Okay.
capital of Belarus. And I was devastated. And Melanie, when I say devastated, I'm not joking. I felt like my life was just beginning. I just started socializing and finding friends and building relationships and finding some of my passions. And, I was just figuring out my life. I felt like everything was falling into place. And all of a sudden it was cut off just like that. It was just one
Oh,
announcement. And I gotta tell you, when we got to the airport and we were only allowed to pack two suitcases per person. And of course, parents packed one with something that's important. And then I was allowed to take some of my clothes and just a couple of my things that I really wanted to. I cried the whole way, every flight. It was 3 flights. And on every flight, I cried for every minute of that flight. And that was about a 27-hour journey. So you can imagine I'm landing as a mess in Canada. We landed in Toronto first, and they got to do all the paperwork. And they don't even tell you. You just camera up, snap a photo of you. That was the worst photo I've ever had on my documents in my life. Puffy face, I'm still crying, I'm all covered in whatever. It's awful. And that was literally my Canadian ID for the next 2 years.
oh my goodness.
But yeah, it sure felt like my life was over and we didn't speak English very well. We didn't really have people here. We didn't really know what we're gonna do. Not really a job. Yeah, it was literally starting over at 18, 19, just not knowing what's next.
What did your parents go into?
So they went into overdrive when it came to creating better life for us, as I'm sure it's very common for parents. And so my dad went to school to actually get a couple of degrees under his belt because he was going from being a mechanical engineer into more of a project management field. And then my mom just picked up the jobs that she could find. In her case, it was being a cook at retirement home, which she really enjoys cooking. My mama is Ukrainian and she just
Okay.
loves cooking and taking care of everybody. So let's just say it was pretty aligned. And
Yeah.
she has a lot of experience managing bigger teams and bigger meals and bigger cooking and all of that stuff. So that was aligned. And I ended up, for my first job ever, landing a really sweet gig at Tim Hortons. And I still remember the first day walking into that Tim Hortons and my manager's taking me around and giving me a little brief of what's where and where you can find stuff. And she took the metal bucket. So the metal bucket is usually for like cold products. You have some ice in it, like for milk, right? Because milk doesn't have a dispenser. It just comes in a carton. So she gives me a metal bucket and she said, I want you to go and you're going to put ice in it and put milk in it. And English being my second language. So I take the bucket and I go to the back and I put ice in it and I open the carton of milk and pour it in and bring it back to her. And she just kind of looks down and then looks at me and she's like, What? What did you do? And I said, I put milk in ice. Apparently, that wasn't the right way to do it. You're supposed to put a carton of milk in ice, not pour milk in ice. English,
Same.
very many nuances. And somehow, after all that, they decided to still put me to work on the drive-through.
Well, I
Where
have to say, your your accent is negligible. Like you speak like perfect English.
Thank you. A lot of people tell me that I sound Quebecan or
Yeah,
French.
I have a Russian friend, and you don't. So Belarus, I'm not certain exactly, but is it in
It's Russian.
Russian? Yeah. So yeah, you don't have the same accent as her. Um,
No, I think I made very hard decision when I came to Canada, and that was to integrate myself as fast as I can. And in order for me to do that, I had to make sure that I don't create the Russian community or Russian speaking community around myself, that I don't have all my friends speaking my native language, that I speak English as much as I can and ensure that even the jobs that I was getting was only English speaking people. So there wasn't that temptation to go back into speaking Russian. It was a hard decision, but it's probably the one thing that allowed for me to adapt the quickest possible and learn the language as quick as possible. Because now I have way less accent. I don't have that harsh Russian accent anymore. And in the same time, I definitely lost my roots there for a while. The only people that I spoke Russian with were my parents. So there was a lot of loneliness and isolation that came with it, because when you are just learning a language, there's very limited ability of socializing that you can do. There's only so many conversations that you can keep up with, right? And so trying to be in, the older teenager kind of like communities, they speak really fast and they speak some slang and some phrases I've never heard before, never mind words I've never heard before. And I'm just still there pointing at things and asking what and why and not sure what people are saying. So majority of my conversations were based on reading people's emotions, right? And volume, intonation, right? And then literally just asking what, and I wouldn't even ask, what does that mean? I would ask what means. And people would try to explain it in the simpler words or literally draw it out for me, draw a picture, right? Some people were definitely nicer than others, and they would take the time, and some people not so nice, and that's okay too.
Wow. Well, I empathize a little bit with what you're saying. I didn't experience it for near that long, but when I was 19, I went as a nanny to Denmark, and was just kind of thrown into it, had like a little Danish speaking tape, and I knew a few little phrases, and I remember the feeling of loneliness. I
Yeah.
remember the feeling of like, even though I had some people speaking English around me, it was nobody here gets me, nobody here
Yeah.
understands me, and I can't even show them like my humor. Like, because
That's definitely a good one.
it doesn't relate to a new language, right? Like they don't get who you actually are. Yeah.
And and I think there's way more nuances in culture than people catch unless they have experienced that. So for me, even as simple as walking a dog was culture shock, because people would always come up and pet the dog and talk to me. And I didn't understand why. I was so used to the one way of living. Like, you mind your own business and you just walk your dog, and people know better than touching somebody else's dog. So, or going to the store and the clerk asking you, "Oh, how are you doing?" or "How's your day?" And you stand and you're like, "Do you actually want to know?" And how
That
do I
didn't
tell
happen?
them? I just got a job. I'm so excited.
That didn't happen in Belarus?
No, back then anyway, no, it wasn't really culturally standard. I mean,
Okay.
everybody's like polite and friendly, but not that friendly. I find the Russian language in general doesn't have very many what I call empty words, right? So, or empty phrases.
Yeah.
So the how are you used a lot of the times as a hi in English, or so I translate it now, right? Where in Russian, if you want to say hi, you just say hi. Where here it's so commonly used as just a greeting. And it's
Yeah.
not that people expect you to actually share how you're doing. And so generally it's very simple exchange of how are you? Good. And then you move on. It's a very, very different approach to conversations and language in general, right? So it was strange. It was strange to get used to.
So tell us where you are now. Tell us what you're doing, the projects that you're involved with, which I'm excited about personally because I've seen a little bit of an impact. We'll let you tell about it, but I personally think that you are creating big change for people. So
Thank
tell
you.
us about it, Kat.
And I am today at a place that I could have never imagined 20 years ago when I landed here in Canada. And that's actually teaching people how to use public speaking to grow their business out of all places. My 19-year-old self could have never imagined that I will ever be training public speaking. Without, like, back then, I couldn't even communicate a concise sentence, never mind train someone how to do it from a stage. And I think that became quickly one of my superpowers. First of all, you get embarrassed enough by saying the wrong thing or pronouncing it the wrong way and people laughing at you that you really get trained to have confidence and no shame. And it makes it just a little bit easier when you stand on stage to give it a shot, right? So really, really try to do something, even if it's uncomfortable or you're not sure if you're doing the right thing. And that became that superpower for me is really pushing through the comfort zone and the fear and do that anyway. So when I got my first opportunity to be on the stage, that was terrifying. I was so scared. I was shaking. I went to the bathroom and called the person who hired me to do the speaking and literally cried and said, I don't think I can do it. I just didn't think I could do it at all. I was so scared. And in reality, that first time that I pushed through that fear and through that comfort zone was the beginning of everything. Creating impact was just on the other side of that. Showing up and having the confidence and learning the skill set and having the ability to just come onto stage and create change in the room is honestly, it's unbelievably fulfilling. So when people talk about seeking purpose, I'm a huge believer I found mine at that moment, at that first talk that I've ever done on the stage. And so now I teach entrepreneurs exactly how to do that. I support them through pushing through their fear and their discomfort and their lack of confidence and imposter syndrome, right? And whatever else is coming up, and really helping them step into their spotlight. And that can look so much different. For some people, it's shown up on social media. For some people, it's speaking on big stages. Some people just want to speak in front of their team and be able to communicate concisely, right? And again, that's the whole spectrum of what that looks like. But communication skills and being able to speak in front of people in a way that creates that impact in the room, that's what I'm about. That's what my whole business is about. And so we actually started and have been growing a community of what we call impact makers. Those people who are willing to take that step, right? Through discomfort, through the fear, through everything that's coming up, because they know that they have a bigger impact to create in the world. That there's something so important on the other side of that fear that with collective power of every single impact maker, the world will be forever changed. And I'm so freaking excited for that.
This episode brought to you by bizbloomer.com. Bizbloomer.com is your friend to small and local businesses, a platform and directory that provides exposure and support to small ma-and-pa type stores or local entrepreneurs, helping them make an impact in their own local communities. Bizbloomer.com is taking the corporate out of business and helping small businesses become relevant and essential again. Businesses can get started for free. Search for BizBloomer businesses in your area. Check them out today. BizBloomer.com. That's BIZbloomer.com.
I want to take you back. So I crept a little bit. So before, in preparation for this, I just Googled your name.
I don't even know what comes up.
Right? Now, this is something that I had found that you had posted, and I wanted to read it back to you because it was, when I read it, I felt something important when I read it, and I feel like this represents everybody looking back at themselves. A letter to my 23-year-old entrepreneurial self. So this was four years after you immigrated here. Hey, girl, you just discovered a spark within you. That spark is called confidence. But you don't know that yet. This is the first time you truly believed in yourself, and in this tiny spark shot a wild thought through your mind. I can start my own business. Just a moment later, you came up with 9,999 excuses of why it wouldn't work. But that moment of confidence already happened, and it will often unexpectedly pop back into your brain. It will take you years to grow into this tiny moment it will take you years to grow this tiny moment into a movement. Years of self-doubt, naysayers working late into the night, and a whole lot of being uncomfortable. And at first, it will be you against the world, and sometimes it will be incredibly lonely. But the right people will come around, and what's more important, stick around. It will start as a small tribe of 3 and grow into something so much bigger than you could possibly imagine at this point. Hang in there, never stop believing in yourself. Small steps will turn into leaps, and that tiny spark will catch your soul on fire.
Girl, why you gotta get me like that?
That's so impactful. Like,
and I am here. Isn't that crazy?
And you started, you know, a small tribe of 3. And now you're impacting, you know, I would dare say hundreds, thousands, you know, however many it is. But yeah, as I read that, I thought, this is such pertinent advice for everyone. hang in there, never stop believing in yourself. So I just wanted to swing that back at you because I felt as I was creeping you.
We all do it. No judgment.
We all do it. But I was just looking back to just truly get the essence of you. And it was right here in this letter. So, yeah, what do you feel that 23-year-old person would say to you now?
I think that would be just a celebration. We've come so freaking far, and I feel like that movement have been created. We're like 20 steps ahead now. And knowing that that's always been my dream, even when sometimes shit gets hard and I forget, like it's pretty incredible to look back and just see that that always has been there. What's even more ironic though is I was working with a coach recently on kind of identifying what's my personal purpose. So not business wise, because that could be different, could be the same.
Yeah.
And the one single phrase kept coming up, and I haven't shared it very much yet, but that single phrase was that my purpose is to reignite people's spark. So that's even more ironic that that was what I wrote years ago. And to this day, it's true.
Yeah. 100% I see that in
I
you.
found it within me so I can help you find it.
Yeah.
Reignite it. Because it's always there. You know it's there. It's just sometimes life gets so freaking hard. And there's so many internal and external circumstances that affect people's, what I call visibility, right? Clarity and visibility. We just can't see past the fog. So I love helping people clear up that so they can see the spark again, so they can use it again, so they can make it be even brighter.
And you're really helping them see their own potential.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always say to my clients, I was like, if I could just like pop the image out of my brain and just pop it on a screen so you could see the vision that I have of where you are going to be, it would be a complete game changer. Because often the clients that I work with, what happens is the only reason why I work with someone is if I can see what that looks like for them. If I can see them creating impact, if I can see where they can be when they are their big self, right? Not their small self, not minimizing themselves, not hiding, but when they're the big self.
Do you feel it?
Yeah.
Is it like an energetic thing that you feel when you talk to somebody?
I feel and see it.
Yeah.
There's literally images. Like that's why I'm like, I wish I could just like pop it out and just show it to people on the screen of the potential that I see in them. And I think sometimes people just need a little bit of that. They need someone else to see them for who they are, for who they can be if some of this shit is just cleared off a little bit, right? If you can just clear up the path so you can actually step forward. And yeah, we all need that person at some point. For me, I had that person for me who saw something in me and put me on that first stage. And that changed my life. And I want to be that person for many, many, many more people.
And even if people aren't wanting a stage or not necessarily wanting to speak, tell us how your program or, some of what you teach could help them.
Yeah, really, I work with business owners specifically. So it's people who either have a business idea or they have already started a business. And I would say, if anything, speaking is how I talk about the confidence and clarity. Most of the entrepreneurs, the reason why things are so hard is because they lack clarity in what it is that they're offering, how they're helping people. And it might be that they think it's clear because they have experienced it themselves. A lot of us start a business because we have done something or experienced something and we want to do it for more people, but they don't know how to communicate it, what words to use, how to say it, how to write it, how to show it, right? Show and tell is a really big thing. It always has been. How to create that visual for someone on the other side that they're having a conversation with so they can see themselves solve that problem and how that's going to work for them. That's primarily the whole point of public speaking, is how to gain clarity and how to communicate what it is that you do to people that you talk with. And sometimes those people are just your friends and family. And trust me when I say it took years for my friends and family to really understand what it is that I do. So I knew every time that if I asked them, what is it that I do and they can't answer, that means I still have some of my own clarity that I need to do.
I don't know. Friends and family sometimes are the hardest to talk
Definitely.
or to see you, maybe the last to see you. So tell us, what are some common issues or problems that business owners have, or some common things that maybe that you can see them doing wrong that could just be a simple little tweak?
Yeah, a lot of business owners, they start their business from passion, and I sure hope it's truly a lot, like majority of you started because you're passionate about it. And then there's this disconnect that happens. So the passion and money. And so I see a lot of business owners to feel like if they're doing something because they're passionate about it, the money is almost like completely separate. So either they shouldn't get paid for it, or it shouldn't be there. They shouldn't be charging that much, or like, yeah, essentially they should just do it for free because they love it and they're passionate about it. But in reality, the transformations that I see within people often follow some kind of transaction, right? So people have to pay to create that transformation for themselves. And I don't say that because I sell services. I say that because I experience it. There's the saying, transformation happens in a transaction. And a lot of that, I've heard that phrase over and over and over again from different people and different events and different coaches for years, until more recently, it finally sunk in on what that means. When it comes to investing into yourself, the only time when you do it is when you truly believe in yourself. And I see that a lot. People say no to investing in themselves, and they say no because they don't believe they can actually achieve what they want. So you have to have that core belief in yourself. You have to know that you can create a business. You have to know that you're the right person. You have to know that you can create value and impact in someone else's life. That confidence takes a little bit to build up, and that's probably the most important piece in every business. If you don't have that belief in yourself, it's so hard to build a business. That's when you start feeling like you're pushing boulder up the hill, that everything is hard, that you have to do a certain thing. So I heard I have to go networking. I heard I have to do social media. I heard I have to post 3 times a day and all of those things. You have to. But as long as you believe in yourself and really believe in yourself, everything else will fall into place. This is when you start investing into yourself, because you know that the return on investment is always there. And this is where the true transformation happens, because that's when you start taking action. You know what, that phrase of shelf-help books, the shelf-help in general? I used to be a shelf-help addict. You can probably see some of it behind me.
Yeah, and Grey's Anatomy.
I've read most of them now. It's very easy to cause a chemical reaction in your brain to feel and think that you instantly helped yourself just because you bought a book. Now, imagine investing on the level where you actually take action. And a lot of the times, that's the one piece that moves the needle. Because I don't know about you, Melanie, but when I started my business, my first 2 weeks were so exhausting. I was on the couch doing nothing because I didn't know what to do. Because I would start from sitting in front of my computer and then instantly going into overwhelm and then go into the couch, right? And so that overwhelm would hit so quick, and it was so easy to either stay busy for the sake of being busy and pretend like I'm doing something, but then my bank account didn't reflect that. Or I'm doing nothing because I don't know what to do. And also my bank account reflects that, just exactly that. So taking action all comes to you having to get out of that comfort zone, right? And for a lot of the times it's attached to the investment. So if you invest a shit ton of money and you're like, man, I don't know how I'm going to make it, but I believe in myself that I can do it, then what happens is at least one action that you can do is actually capitalize on your investment, which is just do what they tell you. And I see it so much. My first coach I hired, and he told me what to do, and I did about 10% of it. My last coach I hired, and he told me what to do, and I did 100% of it. And the results followed 100% of the time. So it just shows you just gotta believe in yourself and then invest in yourself. So at least it forces you to take action. It gives you like that roadmap, even if you don't know what to do, or it gives you accountability because you've invested in yourself because you want to get the return. So that's like the first little tip that I give to a lot of business owners is don't be afraid to invest in yourself. It does create a huge transformation within who you are, but also in your business. And my second tip is, get on as many stages as possible, because you being in front of the room and speaking to the whole room is going to be so much easier than you having 25 coffee dates. And truly, that's very exhausting and time consuming.
Yeah, in listening to you talk about speaking in front of the room, it changed my perception of what a room is. It
Tell me
changed
more.
yeah. So, really, that can be on, social media. It can be on, like us right now with a podcast. It can be it can be talking with 5 people. It can be talking with 2 people. There's so many different ways to look at like your impact of speaking in front of somebody.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't necessarily, mean that we're on a 500-person room giving a speech, but it just made me reconsider some of the moments that I have already.
Yeah. And there's a million ways to make $1 million, right? You can sell 1 million of $1 items, 500,000 of $2 items, or $1 million item, right? So there's a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to speaking in front of the room, you got to think about it from the same perspective. A lot of people discount or get discouraged when they walk in the room and there's only 5 people or 2 people or 10 people. For some of you, the numbers differ, right? The truth is, you really have to look from a perspective of, first of all, the value of the room is not determined by how many people are in the room. Because if you have a room of 3 people, but each person paid $5,000 to be there, the value is much higher. Or if you have a room of 50 people, but each one of them didn't pay anything to be there, the value of the room is very different, right? I like determining the value of the room by the amount of value that I can provide to the people in the room. And so for me, it doesn't matter if it's 1 person there or 100 or 1,000. The amount of value that I can provide to them is the same. And therefore, that room to me is just as valuable no matter how many people are in there.
Do you want me to tell you about one of my sit down and bawl your eyes out moments?
Yes. Now that you made me cry, your turn.
So I was booking a hotel and I was going up to do this talk and there was going to be people coming and blah, blah, blah. And I booked it. I booked my flight. I booked my car. I got there. I set everything up and I was the only person. I sat and seriously, I can cry right now thinking about it. There's already tears coming to my eyes. But that was one of 4 locations that I was booked to go to. And the other 3 had some really impactful moments happen. So it was like, and it made me in that moment sit down and go, okay, like, why are you doing this? Like, and is it time to quit? Well, it sure as heck felt like it was time to quit. Yeah. Anyways, so I've done it before for 0 people.
And that made you find your why.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
That's pretty impactful.
Yeah. So, hey, I was also through some of your social media thing, through your posting, I saw you do a post about bad marketing.
Wow, I post a lot of good stuff. I didn't even know.
Right? So you said something about, just had another person DM me, hello, sign up for my shit without any questions or even getting to know me. And it's so true. Like this whole instant world of like having people access us and just being like, tell us about that and about some of the mistakes that you see people making with that right now.
Yeah, I'm a believer in the value first approach, and there's different strategies that people teach you. Also, there's this whole job position that's called a setter. So a setter is a person who's going to go usually on your social media, DM every single person that follows you, likes your stuff, interacts with your profile in any way. And their sole job is to set an appointment for you. So that to have a sales conversation. So that's actually jobs nowadays. Is you can pay someone as cheap as $300 a month for someone else to do it. It's wild. I'm all about value-based marketing. I want to provide someone enough value so it's a no-brainer for them to work with me in some capacity. Or if it impacts their life without me working with them, that's okay too, right? Like that's not the sole purpose is to make a sale. And so when it comes to DM strategies like this, where people just copy paste the same message and send it to 1,000 people before they get blocked and Facebook takes down their profile, because that's exactly what happens, I just don't appreciate it. I think it's very impersonal. Also sales and having the sales training. I got to tell you, Melanie, a lot of the sales is 80% of sales is listening, is really understanding what the person on the other side needs, what they're going through, what challenges they're having, what is their capacity, right? Because you don't know what's happening in their life. And only then identifying if what I have and the service that I provide is a good fit. Only at that point I would ever offer for someone to work with me. Otherwise, it's like a billboard. You see it 5 million times, but with social media, it became this, like you said, an instant access to you. In fact, I think kids suffer the most from that. They have other people instantly accessing their inbox every day, every single day, 24/7. And when it comes to bullying, where before bullying would happen only in school, now there's no way to avoid it. It happens in school, after school, at night, in the morning, when you're with your family. So it's everywhere. And it's a challenging world. So for me, I don't do the DM strategies where you just pitch slap everybody, right? Just send them a link.
Pitch slap.
I'd rather them interact with my content in some way, and then if they see the potential or the interest, then have the conversation. That's my choice every single time. And that's why, again, like I'm a huge fan of public speaking, because it really helps you introduce people to what it is that you do in a non-pitch slappy way and let them filter themselves off or on, right? So they can decide whether they're interested in learning more and having a conversation or buying something, or they're not. That way, it's way less spam, way less having weird conversations. You don't have to hire someone just to set them in an appointment with you. It just, creates a better environment, but more than anything, it creates better relationships. And Melanie, you know that I have really good relationships with all of my clients. I'm a relationship first person. I obviously value boundaries, and I want to work with people that I like. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
In fact, I've had pain in the butt clients before. There's a reason why I drive my business this way now, is because it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant to receive urgent messages at 11 p.m. at night or on a Christmas day. It's not pleasant for a client who messages you how they're unhappy every single day, even though you're literally delivering on exactly what they asked. It's not pleasant to constantly have to manage stress and expectations of someone who just want more and more and more without paying for it. Right? So I'd rather work with clients who know exactly what they're signing up for, who I like, who have a bigger vision than just making a buck, and who I can support and implement in that vision. We talk about ripples of impact a lot, and the ripples of impact is, like one person gets change and that creates a ripple, and 3 people around them will see it or be affected in some way, and so on and so on and so on. And eventually you're affecting 100 or 1,000 people just from helping one person. And that's how I see myself. I want to be that drop pouring into someone so their life changes forever, so they can change millions of lives. And that's how I see my way of changing the world, is because the more people I can help step into being an impact maker and actually do it, follow their passion, build it out, live their purpose, the more world is going to change to be a better place.
Yes to that. When you talk about impact and like being able to impact just one person who then impacts others and like that domino effect, I heard something recently that blew my mind. And it was if you have plants in your house, the person that cares for them, your plants energetically feel them when you come home, when you are within 2 kilometers of returning to your house. And I started to think, if your plants can feel you returning home and their energy actually adjusts to that, imagine what happens when our energy is high and we go out into the world, and how many people that we're actually impacting, right? Like, just in a positive fashion.
Exactly. That's wild. I've never heard about that before. That's really cool.
Yeah. The other thing
makes me want to go water my plant right now.
You should do that right now. Just on an aside, have you ever listened to the music that plants make? So not how they respond to music, but there's people that like hook up these little sensors on plants.
Yeah.
And the music that they actually play, and the different music that each plant has, it's fascinating. It's this whole other world of like unseen quantum realities that like where we are actually being that ripple in a way that we don't even see it, but it's being impacted. So, hey, tell me something that you're scared of.
Oh, I'm still scared of heights. I'm working through that one, but still there. But I think if I were to dig deeper, there's definitely fear of failure. And more like not fear of failure like myself, but fear of failing others. Like I feel very deeply for caring for others, and I feel them deeply, like very empathetic in that way. And a lot of the times what happens for me is when I'm doing something that I know will affect other people, that's the first thing that come up for me as a fear is I'm really scared I'm going to fail them, that it's going to affect them in a negative way.
You think that's your Russian background?
That's a part of it. I mean, I heard all of it comes from your childhood. As my psychologist said, it's a part of it. And I think at the core, again, it can be used as a fear to shrink or to fuel me to move forward. And I use it to fuel me to move forward. This is one of the things that fires me up, is to create more positive effect than negative at all times. I used to have it on my wall, like right on my wall in front of my screen, written that my purpose is to make at least one person smile every day. That was like how my purpose started, like my statement and explaining it to people. But in reality, that's just who I am. It's not even my purpose. It's just a part of me. It's just me being me. I just love making people smile. I want them to feel good. I want people to remember what joy feels like, and pleasure and laughter and adventure. And that's all part of reigniting their spark, right? Is really helping them rediscover that joy that they can feel just living their life. And they don't have to do anything for it. Melanie, I hear that all the time, right? It's like people are like, I could do more. I could do something about this. And it's do. And it's constant work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just being.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be work. You don't have to do anything. Just be. That's the whole purpose, is to just be. And everything else happens because of who you are, because of you working on yourself so you can show up as authentic you, and everybody else follows.
I really resonate with that because I felt your authentic self when I first met you. So much of what we see right now is, the person in front of the camera and look at me, I'm sitting here on the beach all zoned out and, meditating, and somebody just happened to be taking my picture. And as soon as I see that, it just, or the filters, I think have done such a disservice to, when I see that, I see somebody just wanting to hide their soul. And it always makes me so sad when I see a filter. Because, like, don't kid yourself, I would happily erase a few lines here and there and, maybe a tummy tuck or something. But that filter of wanting something between you and the rest of the outside world to feel safe and to feel validated, it always makes me feel really sad when I see people posting with filters.
This episode brought to you by protandemcanada.lifevantage.com. What if you could turn on your body to work like it was supposed to? What if you could have it remember how to handle toxins, stress, and the environment like it used to when you were young? What if it worked for your pets too? What if this is not about supplementing something that is missing, but activating something that has gone dormant? About actually turning on your body to make these things again. Learn how to activate your body now. Check us out, protandemcanada.lifevantage.com.
Yeah, I actually was thinking the other day, it's interesting because there's two perspectives to everything. And so I always see, as especially social media influencers, they do what I call a highlight reel, right? So you get the highlights best highlights of their life.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't get a whole movie. There's no plot twist, no downturn, right? There's no like,
laundry.
it's just the good things. So it's a highlight reel of everything good that happens in their life. But on the other side, if you look on the other side of social media, people who truly feel vulnerable and show up vulnerable on their social media get bashed because they're like, oh, it's all for show, as if you set up a camera right at that moment that you were feeling this and tears came in. So it's almost like our society is not quite ready for either or. Our society is not ready for raw vulnerability, nor they're ready to see someone who is succeeding and they're just sharing the highlight reel. And all of that comes from this lack. I don't believe in balance. I don't think there's such thing as like balance and you have it perfection, right? Like even in court, when you see the lady of the law, right? It's always not balanced. Like that's the whole point. And so you really got to think about that in order for you to help the world shift that perspective and find a place that's in between. You got to shift yourself first. And so I work a lot on personal development and working on myself and really getting to know on different triggers, emotions, thoughts that come into my mind, depending on what it is that I see. And the number one thing that I always do is, what is it within myself that's causing me to react to that in any way? Because often the things that you see are just mirrors. And so when I look at somebody else's highlight reel, and I'm like, ooh, nice Lambo, also sleazy. I'm like, oh, wait, mirror. So what is it that I'm doing that makes me feel sleazy? Or what is it that I'm sharing that makes me feel sleazy or perhaps not true? And then I can really help myself dig in and identify and really become a better version of myself. And I do that quite a bit because it's very natural for humans to have different feelings, emotions, thoughts, right? As you're seeing or experiencing different things. But I enjoy doing that because I feel like that's a big part of what created who I am. But that's also the biggest part of why I was able to peel back some of those walls and some of those different masks that I had to wear, different places with different people and being someone else. And actually just step in into being like, hey, I'm Kat and I like pickleball. And I do the business thing. And I can do podcasts without a prep, or you don't need to send me questions. We can just have a really good conversation.
Yeah. So, hey, if I'm on Kat's couch and you're like, my counselor, what are you telling me about myself as to why I don't like seeing people with filters?
That's a good question. So again, the question would be, what is it within yourself that you're either hiding from other people? Because that's what it sounds like. You're hiding from other people and separating yourself from the world. What is it that you do, or what is the way that you show up in your life? Because that's all it is. The exact thought and emotion you're experiencing towards the person who's using filters is the exact thought and emotion you're experiencing about yourself. You just haven't thought about it that way. Because it's easier to identify what's happening in this very complex thing called brain when it's someone else.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to turn on yourself and ask the same question. So that would be your homework, is really thinking like, what is it that you're doing or how you're showing up that you're still creating this separation between you and people on the other side.
I would say 100% I'm not quite fully out there yet.
See, you know it.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah.
But now you know why it's causing a reaction within you, because you know that they're most likely experiencing the same thing. So really feeling sorry for them, you're feeling sorry for yourself. You're bonding with those people because you're one of the same on the different side of the coin.
Interesting.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
No therapist here, right?
Oh, just to be clear, I'm not paying you for this the counseling session.
You know, I used to own a domain that was literally, I'll invoice you later.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So tell me, I was going to ask you, tell me about AI. Tell me your thoughts on AI. Are you scared of it?
No, I don't feel scared of it. I feel like AI has been giving us tools and ways to accelerate just about anything that we already do. That said, I think what scares me is the lack of education around AI. Not for business owners, there's plenty of education for business owners and how to use it for business, but for just day-to-day people and day-to-day uses, right? So outside of growing a business and using it for business. Because I find that there's kind of like a little breakdown where some people believe that AI is a very useful tool, but sometimes they believe everything that AI says, which it still has a lot of misinformation. So it's important to understand that when AI spits out the answer to the question, some of this information can be fabricated according to what it is that it thinks that you want to get from it. It's almost like AI is an ultimate people pleaser.
Predict.
So it's like if you ask it something ultra specific, as an example, you can say something like, find me a family doctor within 20 kilometers of my location and give it an address. And it will give you a list of family doctors and phone numbers and their names and addresses. And the moment you start looking it up, you actually clearly see how they're all fake, or some of them. But it will look really real. It will have doctor, first name, last name, phone number with your local like area code, addresses, like real addresses in your city, but it will be fake information.
Really?
And so you can do that in numerous different ways where AI will actually fabricate the answer to satisfy the result. So it's important to understand that there's a lot more to AI than just simply gathering data and giving it to you. And
It's
some
like a
AI
teenager
models don't have that ability.
it's like a teenager that wants you to stop asking questions.
Literally, here's just any answer just so you can leave me alone. And it could be very, very useful. Like it still has an ability to have and gather a lot of the information when it comes to concepts, right? Understandings. It's like an encyclopedia. You can just search through it faster. Ultimate encyclopedia, right? And as you're paying for different AI models, the tools and usages can be expanded. So there's full data analysis you can do. You can create custom AIs. You can actually create AI automations that do some of the things for you, including booking appointments. There's AI automation tools that can make calls for you and have full conversations. I recently was exploring an AI tool that we can literally give 1,000 contacts to with phone numbers, and you train it on your product, what it is that you offer, what are some of the questions people ask, things like that. It will make a phone call. It will sound like a real person, have full sales conversation, and actually sign people up. And it's really freaking realistic. That part freaks me out a little bit, how realistic the conversation is. Like with and let me think about it, and intonations and accent. It sounds like a real person. It's pretty wild. So the limitations, some limitations are there, and it's quickly becoming one of those things that if you don't learn, you're a dinosaur. You're already behind. Someone else is going to use it and essentially just go faster than you. They will be like 5 steps ahead just because they could do it faster and they could just pump it out real quick using AI or automate something that they're doing and not have to do it anymore. And now they have more time and capacity to do it. Now, I'm a believer in adoption. So instead of going against the grain, I'm going with the grain and to a point. So personally, in my business, we use the AI tools a lot. We use them primarily as an inspiration and creativity point. So to open up our creativity. So we'll have some kind of concept, we'll have an idea, and we'll just have that conversation, and it will help us fine tune it and then create some spreadsheets or timelines and things like that. So we can start from something and then customize it fully. And that will make it much, much easier. In our programs, we're right now finalizing AIs that are going to build full presentations and just break down literally slide by slide, like what are you going to be saying and structures and all of those things. So again, possibilities are truly endless when it comes to AI. I'm super excited for all the things that are possible. The one downside that I don't like is uh, I feel like it's taking me away from some things. Like it's almost like I gotta run behind the train and the train is moving faster.
Yeah.
It's developing so fast that I almost need like just a dedicated person to stay on top of it and then give me the gist of it. Because otherwise, there's too many new things happening too fast. And it's easy to switch focus to to working on AI and how to develop AI in my business and all of those things instead of actually doing what I came here to do in the first place.
Yeah, I hear you on that. There's parts of me that are a little scared of it. There's parts of me that are kind of creeped out by like, I feel like it's almost like a sentient being. Like it's like that part kind of freaks me out a bit. But I feel like when you say antiquated dinosaur, like that may be me. Because I am just starting to understand about some of the capabilities and stuff of AI. And I'm like, what? You can do that? You can have it create a video with those three words?
Yeah.
And it's like, and it looks like me? Like, what? So my mind is like, my mouth is in that conversation where you're told something that shocks you, my mouth is still open. I haven't quite figured out what to do yet.
It's a good way to put it.
And so now it's just kind of like recalibrating and just starting to learn a little bit. But I will tell you, it is uncomfortable. I guess learning always is, but it is uncomfortable for me just to think about the replacement of people a little bit. And I know that you can like spin that a bunch of different ways and say, well, if you can make it do this, then you can actually be present in so many other ways. But yeah, that's a little bit of my thoughts on AI.
No, I just think like fast forward, I don't know, let's take like 300 years from now. So what sometime, like a few generations, right?
Yeah.
Say AI actually continues developing and it replaces people. Wouldn't we just change our economy system and money becomes irrelevant and then everybody just has this like unanimous, we all live well? I don't know. Possibly. Like, I feel like it has a potential of shifting the world into something else where maybe human labor is not as necessary, but also some human labor also always will be there and it finally will be valued. Like at the very least, I know that they're testing some of the schools transitioning to AI learning. So AI teaches children. But there's downside to it where I see a huge downside of the lowered emotional intelligence when it comes to kids getting learned from AI. There's only so much emotional intelligence that AI can provide right now anyway, maybe in the future, but right now. So what are they missing out on when they don't have those human interactions, whether positive or negative, right? And what are they missing out on learning when it comes to human interactions in general? And so you can kind of always look at it. There's always going to be devil's advocate, right? Like something good, something bad. In reality, I'm really happy that it's here because it will speed up our progress and as a human race much faster, perhaps even helping us with some of those really, really big challenges and questions that the world is dealing with. The one thing that is always going to be there, though, is the human factor. There's always going to be something, somewhere, group of people or political party or something, right? Trying to either shut it down, leverage it, make money on it, or something else. So at the end of the day, we're our worst enemies. So I have no doubt that we'll screw this one up too, just enough. So the humans are always safe and we always need to be a part of the ecosystem, right? So that's kind of how I look at it. We're always going to be there. So there's going to be some way that we're going to cap it at its capacities so it doesn't replace the humanity.
When you talk about schools, do you think our schools are setting children up with entrepreneurial skills, or do you think they learn it after?
Some, more and more. So I see it more and more where schools are offering specifically entrepreneurial tracks. So they have, whether it's a part of the curriculum or it's like post-school curriculum as an option. But more than anything, what I see the most is the world has shifted a lot when it comes to consumption of content. And so the content that is produced by kids for kids is where they're learning now. It's not from schools. So the way I see it is more parents supporting kids is what's actually going to really help them develop as entrepreneurs.
Right. Well, we lost your signal there for a moment, Kat.
Just reconnecting here. Here we go.
Oh, there we are. There we are. You're back. So maybe we'll take that as a sign that I know I had told you an hour and we're a little over that.
My camera was like, she said an hour.
We're done. We're done. Tell me first of all, I don't think we've done a really great job of driving people to your actual programs yet. So I want you to tell me about your program, what it's named, where they can find you, and we'll have all these links in the show notes. But also tell us about who you're working with, just, whether it's in Canada, international, your affiliate program. Tell us, there's going to be people that have listened to this that are like, oh my gosh, I want that girl. And I know that she could help me. So tell us how they can find you.
I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to give you one thing. So you're going to go to Instagram and you're going to find me. It's Kat Halushka, KatHalushka. Find me, follow me, and send me a message. So you can send me a message, just the word speaker, and I'm going to send you our profitable speaker talk system that is going to describe exactly what it is that we do, and it's going to help you build your talk out. So I'm really hoping that you'll start setting more on stage and sharing your story. Otherwise, feel free to send me any questions that you have.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kat. This has been fun. This has been really authentic. I love your story, and thank you for sharing.
Thanks, Melanie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.